Yo everyone, today is the 16th February 2022. This is my quest for meaning from Norway, Eirik, my real name of course. Today I'm going to read Thus Spake Zarathustra. I'm going to begin today at least. I'm going to read the first introduction at least. So yeah, what are you watching here? You're watching, okay, well, you can see my setup here. I have many tabs here. I have a camera, and I'm actually OBSing, right, everything, like screen record, and I just have like my laptop camera running, so you can watch me in real time while I'm reading. So, so here we have PewDiePie, where we have Mr. Beast saying PewDiePie 100 times. So I actually was looking for where he's like reading the whole dictionary, because what he did there was like he read something that he didn't like. He just read every word, like he didn't understand the words. He didn't care about pronunciation. He didn't care about the meaning. He just, but it was a feat of endurance, of perseverance. So I mean, when you read Nietzsche, when I'm reading Nietzsche at least, it's gonna be quite similar, because when you get into it, it's like I don't know what these things means, you know. Well, some of these things I know what it means, but Nietzsche is extremely dense to read. I find him, but I do really like him. I will show you. I'll show you why, because this right here, Will Durant, the philosophy of Nietzsche, was a video I discovered basically like a year ago. You can listen to it a little bit.
Behind all this morality is a secret will to power. Love itself is only a desire for possession. Courtship is combat and mating is mastery. Don Jose kills Carmen to prevent her from becoming the property of another. People imagine that they are unselfish in love because they seek the advantage of another being, often in opposition to their own. Consciousness may be regarded as secondary, almost as indifferent and superfluous, probably destined to disappear and to be superseded by perfect automatism. In strong men, there is very little attempt to conceal desire under the cover of reason. Their simple argument is...
Yeah, so basically I discovered this video like 1 year ago, and I just really, it really like speaks to me on some level. I mean, I really like it. It's very sort of controversial actually. It's very sort of anti egalitarian and sort of anti the democracy and the sort of society we have right now, which I'm living in, you know. But I mean, Nietzsche, I really like Nietzsche, but reading Nietzsche, it is very difficult. So, but you know, if Mr. Beast can read the whole dictionary, which he did, but I didn't find the video, but he has like videos where he's like saying Logan Paul 100,000 times, watching Everyday Bro for 10 hours, you know. And it's like it's endurance. He's doing something that is very boring, and it doesn't. There's no meaning to it, but and he's doing it, and it's like it's perseverance. So I just sort of that's like a thing to keep in mind while I'm reading, because I mean I can't really like you know give justice in a way to this text, because I'm gonna read it badly. You will hear I don't understand to the degree it is written. Even I can't even explain myself how I don't understand it, you know. But I have actually read I've actually read Beyond Good and Evil. Well, when I'm reading Nietzsche, it's like I'm reading really slowly. I'm not trying to think a lot about it. I'm just trying to look up words and stuff like that, and when you read it many times, and you sort of get the meanings. But I want to read it and make a video of it. I want to actually get through the whole book, because I just think it would be a cool thing to do. Because, you know, I'm not making any content. I don't know. I mean, if you don't know me, You can check out my blog, my homepage, my quest for meaning, which I had created a long time ago, and I wrote a very long sort of introductory blog. And I talk a lot about my gambling issues, basically, but also I think right here, these are Nietzsche quotes. So yeah, I like Nietzsche. So yeah, if you want to know me, you can check. I mean, I haven't uploaded in a very long time. Last update was on July 18, and I also have my own YouTube channel, which for a short period this summer I made YouTube videos, and I will post this on YouTube because I don't know. I mean, I just want to post it, I guess. I wanted to actually stream it to like stream it live. Well, to stream it live, but I can't do it because you have to wait 24 hours or something. So I'm gonna record it here and I'm gonna upload it instead through OBS. So yeah, that's that. Also, Odyssey, I'll just create an account on Odyssey. And on Odyssey, of course, it's YouTube. It's very censorious. It censors many people, and I think Odyssey is better in that regard. So maybe in the future, I will create an Odyssey account instead, and have content there. But I think you can safely read a book, well, this book, and put it on YouTube, I think. So yeah, I mean, if you want to have like a perfect reading of this book, you should definitely check out this video here, which you can find by just searching after it. Because I won't be reading this good, obviously. Yeah, so if you want to, so I'm also gonna be, you can see here, actually gonna, whenever I encounter a word I don't really know right away, I'm just gonna stop and look it up and then pass it in here instead. I should did a short reading before this and found some words that I didn't really understand. I'm just gonna look it up here, and here if I find like any quotes, I'm just gonna pass them here. And this is how I'm gonna do it. And I want to like try to almost be like a student. Just admit that I don't know too much and just that I'm stupid, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I don't know, I want to. It's a really great book actually, but I find it is hard to read. It's very hard to read, and it's also harder to read to others than to read to oneself, I believe. But the reason I want to do it this way is because I have issues with discipline, you know. So like, if my goal is to only read it for myself, it's more difficult than if I have like an exterior goal almost that I want to put out a video so that others potentially can watch it and learn it. I mean, I'm under no illusion that many people will like watch this video, but in theory, right, it's content, you know. If I read a book and I don't remember anything from it, then it's like worthless. But if you produce content, then at least that is, it's like a firm thing that is online. You can find it, you can Google it. I can always have it there, and I can look it up, you know, later. Maybe when I'm like 40, and when I was, I'm 31 years old by the way right now. I know I look very young, but I'm 31. So yeah, when I was 31, I read Thus Spake Zarathustra, and I can just go back and watch my own reading of it. That's a cool thing, I think. So yeah, all already 10 minutes in, so I'm gonna start here. Thus Spake Zarathustra, words here, quotes. I'm not going to quote from the introduction because this is from Nietzsche's sister, and she quotes from Nietzsche, so I will quote directly from Nietzsche later when I get there. So yeah, by the way, you can find this book by just going to gutenberg.org. You can find many old books there. It says here, this book is for the use of anyone, anywhere in the United States and for most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away, or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license. So you can just basically there's no laws that prevents me from doing this, I think. So it's very nice. It's an old book, of course. So most old books you can find freely online and just read them. So yeah, I think that's all. That's all I wanted to say. I have a blog, I have a YouTube channel, Mr. Beast. Let's close that one. And I will look up words here. Right, so let's get into it. Introduction to, and we should just Thus Spake Zarathustra, a book for all and none by Friedrich Nietzsche, translated by Thomas Common. PG editor's note: archaic spelling and punctuation usages have not been changed from the original. In particular, quotations are often not closed for several paragraphs. D.V. Introduction by Mrs. Forster Nietzsche. I think it's actually first the German letter. It's like they don't have it in English, so it's you don't have it in English basically, but it's on Forster. I know it because in Norwegian we have like a letter which is similar to the one they have in German, I believe. So yeah. So this was Nietzsche's sister, and she lived a lot longer than Nietzsche. Nietzsche died I think this book was written around 1870, in the beginning of the 1870s, I think. I know that Beyond Good and Evil was written in 1875. So yeah, this was written before, around there anyway. And Nietzsche died in 1900. And the last 10 years of his life, he was in like a very bad mental state. He wasn't like cognizant, basically. But his sister lived for a much longer time, and she actually got sort of connected with the Nazis, and she's a bit controversial for that, I think. But I'm not going to comment on that right now. I'm just going to mention it. So she has a quite lengthy like a prologue or an introduction. So I'm going to read through it, and then we will get to Nietzsche's actual writing. Okay. How Zarathustra came into being. Zarathustra is my brother's most personal work. It is the history of his most individual experiences, of his friendships, ideals, raptures, bitterest disappointments, and sorrows. Above it all, however, these soars, transfiguring it, the imagining of his greatest hopes and remotest aims. My brother had the figure of Zarathustra in his mind from his very earliest youth. He once told me that even as a child he had dreamt of him. At different periods in his life he would call this haunter of his dreams by different names, but in the end, he declares in a note on the subject, I had to do a Persian the honor of identifying him with the creature of my fancy. Persians were the first to take a broad and comprehensive view of history. Every series of evolutions, according to them, was presided over by a prophet, and every prophet had his Hazar, his dynasty of 1,000 years. So Hazar, it means like prophet, basically, I think. So yeah, I think Zarathustra, it was like a Persian. It's like a mythical figure, I think. it wasn't like a real person. Well, it may have been or may not have been, I don't know. But it's not that important. All Zarathustra's views, as also his personality, were early conceptions of a brother's mind. Whoever reads his posthumously, so that means, I think, post-death, isn't that right? Published writings for the years 1869 to 82 with care will constantly meet with passages suggestive of Zarathustra's thoughts and doctrines. For instance, the ideal of the Superman is put forth quite clearly in all his writings during the years 1873 to 75, and in We Philologists the following remarkable observations occur. How can one praise and glorify a nation as a whole? Even among the Greeks, it was the individuals that counted. The Greeks are interesting and extremely important because they reared such a vast number of great individuals. How was this possible? The question is one which ought to be studied. So, I could do like quotes here, but I feel like I want to do only Nietzsche quotes, basically. I'm interested only in the relations of a people to the rearing of the individual man, and among the Greeks the conditions were unusually favorable and for the development of the individual, not by any means owing to the goodness of the people, but because of the struggles of their evil instincts. So, today our lives, we are in Norway, well, in the West, or almost across the sort of globe, well, mostly in the West anyway, a very high standard of living, right? So that makes our lives easier. But if you want like great individuals, if you want humans to be great, then struggles. You want like hard lives. You want a hard life to be. You sort of need something to overcome to be great. And apparently the Greeks, I actually don't know too much about the Greeks. I actually tried to be learning about ancient civilization lately. There's a great podcast called Fall of Civilizations, which I have listened to, which is very good, and also many other channels on YouTube. So I might actually do some content on that one day. I'm getting some, I don't know what's called in English. My foot like bends itself, my toes like bends themselves or something, just for nothing, just for no reason. That sucks. So yeah, they say the Greek civilization is basically the cradle of the European civilization, well, a Western civilization, So I want to learn more about the Greeks. And Nietzsche says that the conditions were unusually favorable for the development of the individuals, not by any means owing to the goodness of the people, but because of the struggles of their evil instincts. He says evil instincts. And Nietzsche is very, very psychological. He understands that. I'm so bad at talking about it, basically. But like, I can't talk about it actually. I can't explain it the way I want. I just keep. I don't know. Anyway, let's go on. With the help of favorable measures, great individuals might be reared who would be both different from and higher than those who heretofore have owed their existence to mere chance. Here we may still be hopeful in the rearing of exceptional men. So it's basically reiterating the same point, that hard conditions. You have probably seen this meme, right? Good times create weak men. Weak men creates hard times, and on and on again, And that's basically true. And Nietzsche understood that. The notion of rearing the Superman is only a new form of an ideal Nietzsche already had in his youth. That the object of mankind should lie in its highest individuals, or, as he writes in Schopenhauer's As Educator, mankind ought constantly to be striving to produce great men. This and nothing else is his duty. That is it's a very hard statement, you know. Nothing else matters except great men. And it makes sense if you think about it, because from the great men we get internet, we get computers, we get electricity, you know. There's a very tiny proportion of great individuals who has like come up with the most valuable things. So also in like a political context or a philosophical context, this is a point to be made, right? Nietzsche is obviously not a Democrat, you know. He doesn't support the idea that everyone should have the right to vote, for example. And I agree with him. I think it's foolish, you know. I'm not an expert myself, but I mean, in my mind I agree with him anyway. But the ideals he most revered in those days are no longer held to be the highest types of men. No, around this future ideal of a coming humanity, the Superman, the poet spread the wheel of becoming. Who can tell to what glorious heights man can still ascend? That is why, after having tested the worth of our noblest ideal, that of the Savior, in the light of the new valuations, the poet cries with passionate emphasis in Zarathustra. Never yet hath there been a Superman. Naked have I seen both of them, the greatest and the smallest man. So there haven't been a Superman yet. It's like an ideal for humanity. Nietzsche was a good prototype in some ways of a Superman, but you know, he himself wasn't like a Superman, you know. All too similar are they still to each other. Verily, even the greatest found I, all too human. Yeah, exactly. Even Nietzsche was all too human in the end, you know. He had his weaknesses, he had his humanity, and he was aware of it. I mean, the goal is not that we should create a robot-like figure, but it's an ideal, right? The Superman is an ideal for humanity. The phrase "the rearing of the Superman" has very often been misunderstood. By the word "rearing," in this case, is meant the act of modifying them by means of new and higher values, values which, as laws and guides of conduct and opinion, are known to rule over mankind. In general, the doctrine of the Superman can only be understood correctly in conjunction with other ideas of the authors, such as the order of rank, the will to power, and the transvaluations of all values. So Nietzsche, you know, order of rank, every person is very different, and there's like a very sort of hierarchical concepts behind it. We should look to according to Nietzsche, we should like look at each other and like I think like subconsciously we know, well, we have like a social structure, but subconsciously we know who is like better in some sense. And Nietzsche says that, you know, this is very real. There is an order rank, there is a hierarchy between individuals, and also probably between groups. You know, men and women are not the same, for example. And you have the will to power, which, you know, Nietzsche means that humanity, you know, we don't sort of run by just survival. Like living is not just breathing and eating and sleeping. Living is to manifest something, to sort of yeah, in any way, because if you're a strong person, you can manifest it very directly. But even like weak people, they want to they want will to power through more indirect means, right? And like, yeah, I'm not good to explain it, but life is will to power. That is the Nietzsche concept. And the transvaluation of all values that were relevant when Nietzsche was alive, which in many ways are almost the same values as we have today. Maybe today is obviously more modern, you can say. Everything has gone many steps further. The democratization and everything like that. But Nietzsche wants us to sort of revalue everything. We have to sort of recognize that these values aren't good. So he wants to transvalue all the values. He assumes that Christianity, as a product of the resentment of the butch and the weak, has put in ban all that is beautiful, strong, proud, and powerful, in fact all the qualities resulting from strength, and that, in consequence, all forces which tend to promote or elevate life have been seriously undermined. Now, however, a new table of valuations must be placed over mankind, namely that of the strong, mighty, and magnificent man, overflowing with life and elevated to his zenith, the Superman, who is now put before us with overpowering passion as the aim of our life, hope, and will. And just as the old system valuing, which only extolled, so I actually didn't know what extol means, and it means to praise highly, loud, which only praises the qualities favorable to the weak, the suffering, and the oppressed, has succeeded in producing a weak, suffering, and modern race. So this new and reverse system of valuing ought to rear a healthy, strong, lively, and courageous type, which would be a glory to life itself. So basically what we have to do, we have to create a culture which rears exceptional individuals. That is what this means. Stated briefly, the leading principle of this new system of valuing would be: all that proceeds from power is good, all that springs from weakness is bad. And I remember very much that you had this quote in this video. I mean, if you think you find Nietzsche interesting, you should really watch this video. I would say especially like it's very sort of autobiographical in the beginning, I think, and it could be very dense, but from like here somewhere to like here, it's like giving is basically just quoting Nietzsche, and he's taking so many good quotes and and the person who reads this is it's very good. So I really like this when I heard it. So if you like Nietzsche, maybe if you don't want to read Nietzsche, if you like more sort of lazily inclined, you should probably just watch the video or listen to it, because it's very good. Anyway, okay. This type must not be regarded as a fanciful figure. It is not a nebulous hope. Nebulous means hazy. It is not like a hazy, nebulous hope which is to be realized at some indefinitely remote period, thousands of years hence, nor is it a new species, in a Darwinian sense, of which we can know nothing, and which it would therefore be somewhat absurd to strive after. I mean, I actually looked these words up like 30-45 minutes ago, and when I came across them now, I still didn't remember what it meant. And like, I really feel like my age almost is catching up to me, because I have issues learning something new. I have issues getting like words to stick in my head, and like it doesn't work as smoothly as it used to. It could also be because I've slept so extremely badly for such a long time lately. I mean, if I were to sum up everything that has happened since I last made a YouTube video, which was in the summer, I could sum it up just say bad sleep. That would be, I just work like 10, 12 hours a day, and I just come home and I just don't want to go to bed because I just feel like I have to like watch YouTube or play a game or something like that, and I just sleep 5, 6 hours for 5 nights in a row, and then maybe in a weekend I get good sleep, and it's a week after week after week. So that too will fuck your brain up basically. So that plus age, I mean, I have real issues learning new words. So, whoops. So that sucks. Okay, anyway. Where was I? This type must be regarded as a fanciful figure. It is not a nebulous hope which is to be realized at some indefinitely remote period, thousands of years hence. Right, so, it's not like... It's not a nebula, it's not like super uncertain. It can be... I mean, this kind of ideal or hope, it must be something we can almost conceive of, It is difficult, of course, but it's not, should be impossible. I mean, I actually have a person which I think is a very good sort of example of someone who is kind of a Superman to me. He's very controversial, but he's so good, I think. And there's so many things which Nietzschean values which he sort of enacts in his life, which you can sort of glean from Nietzsche. I won't say who it is, but I think I will make a video on him someday. Okay, let's go on. Okay, let's get on with it here. Nor is it a new species in a Darwinian sense, of which we can know nothing, and which it would therefore be somewhat absurd to strive after. Okay. But it is meant to be a possibility which men of the present could realize with all their spiritual and physical energies, provided they adopted the new values. The author of Zarathustra never lost sight of that egregious example of a transvaluation of all values through Christianity, whereby the whole of the deified mode of life and thought of the Greeks, as well as strong Romedom, was almost annihilated and transvalued in a comparatively short time. So, I don't know too much about the Greeks. Did I say that? Did I speak about this? I'll try to learn about them. I want to learn about the Greeks because it's very important. You have Plato, and you have all the philosophers, and they were like a very strong war. Like there was some good wars with Persians and stuff like that, and the Greek culture and everything. But basically, the Greek valuations, according to Nietzsche, were much better. They were almost the correct valuations. But is it the Christianity that ruined it? So we have Greek and Christianity, while Greece and Rome. Nietzsche thought they were good, but almost annihilated or transvalued in a completely short time. That's what I'm saying. Could not a rejuvenated Greco-Roman system valuing, once it had been refined and made more profound by the schooling which 2,000 years of Christianity had provided, effect another such revolutions within a calculable period of time until that glorious type of manhood shall finally appear, which is to be our new faith and hope, and in the creation of which Zarathustra exhorts us to participate? Exhort mean to urge, advise, which I didn't know either. In his private notes on the subject, the author uses the expression Superman, always in the singular, by the by, as signifying the most thoroughly well-constituted type, as opposed to modern man. Above all, however, he designates Zarathustra himself as an example of the Superman. In the Ecce Homo, he is careful to enlighten us concerning the precursors and prerequisites to the advent of this highest type, referring to a certain passage in the gay science. So here we have the passage, I think. In order to understand this type, we must first be quite clear in regard to the leading physiological condition on which it depends. This condition is what I call grave healthiness. I know not how to express my meaning more plainly or more personally than I have done already in the last chapters. Aphorism 382, or the 5th book of the Gay Science. So here is the quote, maybe. We, the nameless, the hard to understand, it says there, we firstlings of a yet untried future, we require for a new end also a new means, namely a new healthiness, stronger, sharper, tougher, bolder and merrier than all healthiness hitherto. He whose soul longeth to experience the whole range of hitherto recognized values and desirabilities, and to circumnavigate all the coasts of his ideal. Mediterranean Sea, who from the adventure of his most personal experience want to know how it feels to be a conqueror, and discoverer of the ideal, as likewise how it is with the artist, the saint, the legislator, the sergeant, the scholar, the devotee, the prophet, and the godly nonconformist of the old style, requires one thing above all for that purpose: grave healthiness, just such healthiness as one not only possesses but also constantly acquire and must acquire, because one unceasingly sacrifices it again and must sacrifice it. It is so dense, it's so very difficult to sort of wrap it all in your head at one time. I can't really do it, honestly. And now, after having been long on the way in this fashion, we Argonauts, I don't know what that is, of the ideal, more courageous perhaps than prudent, and often enough shipwrecked and brought to grief, nevertheless dangerously healthy, always healthy again, it would seem as if, in recompense for it all, that we have a still undiscovered country before us, the boundaries of which no one has yet seen, are beyond to all countries and corners of the ideal known hitherto, a world so overrich in the beautiful, the strange, the questionable, the frightful, and the divine, that our curiosity, as well as our thirst for possession thereof, have got out of hand. Alas, that nothing will no any longer satisfy us. Argonauts, I think that's like a Greek word. Argonauts definition. Oh no. Argonauts. Oh yeah. So when I Google, I get it in Norwegian, so you don't understand it. It says Argonauts was a group of heroes in Greek mythology that traveled adjacent to the Trojan War. They had their name after the ship called Argo, which was after gods. Argonauts means the sea people. Yeah, so it's from Greek. It means like a faction of Greek, ancient Greek society or something like that. Yeah, I don't. If I don't know that, then it doesn't matter. So when you read Nietzsche was a philologist. He studied. He knew so much about the Greeks, the Romans, anything like Mesopotamia, like all the mythology, everything like that, and he uses like this kind of lore, So that's also an issue. Well, it's not so much issue in this book, but if you read like Beyond Good and Evil, there will be many words which sort of requires you to know to already be like almost a scholar before you can appreciate it correctly. So yeah. Yeah. How could we still be content with the man of the present day after such outlooks and with such a craving in our conscience and consciousness? Sad enough, but it is unavoidable that we should look on the worthiest aims and hopes of the man of the present day with ill-concealed amusement, and perhaps should no longer look at them. Another ideal runs on before us, a strange, tempting ideal full of danger, to which we should not like to persuade anyone because we do not so readily acknowledge anyone's right thereto. The ideal of a spirit who plays naively, that is to say involuntarily and from overflowing abundance of power, with everything that has hitherto become folly, with holy, good, intangible, or divine, to whom the loftiest conception of which the people have reasonably made their measures of value would already practically imply danger, ruin, abasement, or at least relaxation, blindness, or temporary self-forgetfulness. The ideal of a humanly superhuman welfare and benevolence, which will often enough appear inhuman, for example, when put alongside of all past seriousness on earth, and alongside of all past solemnities in bearing, word, tone, look, morality, and pursuits, as their truest involuntary parody, and with which nevertheless perhaps the great seriousness only commences. When the proper interrogative mark is set up, the fate of the soul changes, the hour hand moves, and tragedy begins. Okay, I mean, I can't discern this right now. I'm just gonna, so just like Mr. Beast, I'm gonna have to keep going, honestly, just to not can be spend like 5 hours on every paragraph. Although the figure of Zarathustra and a large number of the leading thoughts in his work had appeared much earlier in the dreams and writing of the author, Thus Spake Zarathustra did not actually come into being until the month of August 1881. Okay, so it's written in 81. In Sils Maria, it was the idea of the eternal recurrence of all things which finally induced my brother Satis for his new views in poetic language. Yeah, Nietzsche, this is the only sort of book that isn't that is written in this way, that you will see in a moment. All the other books, as far as I know, are sort of are written like this, basically, very dense and polemic, and extremely difficult to grasp, but also very very rich, meaningful. Yeah. In regard to his first conception of this idea, his autobiographical sketch Ecce Homo, written in the autumn of 1888, contains the following passage. The fundamental idea of my work, namely the eternal recurrence of all things, has this highest of all possible formulate of a yea-saying philosophy first occurred to me in August 1881. I made a note of the thought on a sheet of paper with a postscript 6,000 feet beyond men and time. That day I happened to be wandering through the woods alongside of the lake of Silvaplana, and I halted beside a huge pyramidal and towering rock not far from Surlai. It was then that the thought struck me. Looking back now, I find that exactly 2 months previous to this inspiration I had had an omen of this coming in the form of a sudden and decisive alteration in my tastes, more particularly in my music. It would even be possible to consider all Zarathustra as a musical composition. At all events, a very necessary condition in its production was a renaissance in myself of the art of hearing. I know what that means. A renaissance. My pronunciation is so bad. In a small mountain resort, Riquaro, near Vicenza, Just wanna find out where this is actually. Sense. In Italy, close to Venice. Where I spent the spring of 1801, and my friend and maestro Peter Gast, also one who had been born again, discovered that the phoenix music that hovered over us wore lighter and brighter plumes than it had done theretofore. Theretofore means like hitherto, basically. It's the same meaning, and it means like until now. So yeah, you can like 1881, Nietzsche was around here, you know. During the month of August 1881, my brother resolved to reveal the teaching of the eternal recurrence. Eternal recurrence means that it basically means that life will sort of happen again, over and over, the same way. I mean, I don't really find that idea to be so novel or anything. I mean, but I think the significance of it is that you should really make your life fucking meaningful or something like that. Because like if you only like, it sort of adds significance to life, you know. It's just sort of an idea. I mean, who knows whether life will appear again, but you know. So that's one of Nietzsche's ideas. In dithyrambic and psalmodic form through the mouth of Zarathustra. Among the notes this period, we found a page on which is written the first definite plan of Thus Spake Zarathustra. Midday and eternity, guidepost to a new way of living. Beneath this is written. I don't know why I'm just getting teared up. Just reading. This is not even Nietzsche himself. This is just his sister, but when she's like paraphrasing Nietzsche at least. Zarathustra, born on Lake Urmi, left his home in his 30th year, went into the province of Aria, and during 10 years of solitude in the mountains composed the Scent Avesta. The sun of knowledge stands once more at midday, and the serpent of eternity lies coiled in his light. It is your time, ye midday brethren. In that summer of 1881, my brother, after many years of steadily declining health, began at last to rally, and it is to this first gush of the recovery of his once splendid bodily condition that we owe not only the gay science which in his mood may be regarded as a prelude to Zarathustra, but also Zarathustra itself. Just as he was beginning to recuperate his health, however, an unkind destiny brought him a number of most painful personal experiences. His friends caused him many disappointments, which were the more bitter to him, inasmuch as he regarded friendship as such a sacred institution, and for the first time in his life he realized the whole horror of that loneliness to which perhaps all greatness is condemned. But to be forsaken is something very different from deliberately choosing blessed loneliness. How he longed in those days for the ideal friend who would thoroughly understand him, to whom he would be able to say all, and whom he imagined he had found at various periods in his life from his earliest youth onwards. Now, however, that the way he had chosen grew even more perilous and steep. He found nobody who could follow him. He therefore created a perfect friend for himself in the ideal form of a majestic philosopher, and made this creation the preacher of his gospel to the world. Whether my brother would ever have written Thus Spake Zarathustra according to the first planned sketch in the summer of 1821, if he had not had the disappointments already referred to, is now an idle question, but perhaps where Zarathustra is concerned, we may also say with Master Eckhart, the fleetest beast to bear you to perfection is suffering. You know, the great must suffer. There's no other way, basically. Suffering make great, while ignorance is bliss. Oh my god, why am I crying, bro? What the fuck, man? Oh, this sucks. Why can't I just read it? I'm not even started. Okay. My brother writes as follows about the origin of the first part of Zarathustra. In the winter of 1882-83, I was living on the charming little Gulf of Rapallo, not far from Genoa and between Chiavari and Cape Portofino. Cape Portofino. Let's just see where that is actually. Cape Portofino, is that? No, it's no, I can't do anything right. Chiavari. I want to find a place here. So here's Genova. So Nietzsche, I think he was from Austria. Yeah, he was from Austria, right? I don't actually know where. But he sort of moved. I know he moved across many places, and he actually wrote. Yeah, he wrote in the beginning of the book here. Alright, and here. My health was not very good. The winter was cold and exceptionally rainy, and the small inn in which I lived was so close to the water that at night my sleep would be disturbed by the sea if the sea were high. These circumstances were surely the very reverse of favorable, and yet in spite of it all, and as if demonstration of my belief that everything decisive comes to life in spite of every obstacle, it was precisely during this winter and in the midst of these unfavorable circumstances that my Zarathustra originated. In the morning I used to start out in a southerly direction up the glorious road to Suagli, which rises aloft through a forest of pines and gives one a view far out into the sea. In the afternoon, as often as my health permitted, I walked around the whole bay from Santa Margherita to beyond Portofino. This spot was all the more interesting to me, inasmuch as it was so dearly loved by the Emperor Frederick III. In the autumn of 1886, I chanced to be there again when he was revisiting this small forgotten world of happiness for the last time. It was on these two roads that all Zarathustra came to me. So, when you read this, it is possible to just visit this place in Italy and just see exactly where Nietzsche used to walk. Just a nice thought, And you can sort of almost find exactly where he conceived of this book. So that is very cool, I think. It was on these two roads that all Zarathustra came to me. Above all, Zarathustra himself as a type. I ought rather to say that it was on these walks that these ideas waylaid me. Waylaid, it means to ambush or attack, I think. Actually, I remember that word. I looked at it before. The first part of Zarathustra was written in about 10 days, that is to say, from the beginning to about the middle of February 1883. The last lines were written precisely in the hallowed hour when Richard Wagner gave up The Ghost in Venice. Hallowed. Doesn't that mean sanctified? Hallowed. Can I get proper size here? 14, please. Yes. Hallow. It means to hallow. It means to make holy, I think. Hallow. Yeah, to make holy, sanctify, concentrate. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. I wonder if there's a way to, like, when I copy paste anything, that it can actually be the size of the document and I don't have to do this all the time that I'm doing right now. If it is, please let me know. With the exception of 10 days occupied in composing the first part of this book, my brother often referred to this winter as the hardest and sickliest he had ever experienced. Oh, why am I almost crying? I literally like Nietzsche too much, and I don't really feel like I understand him enough, or like I can like claim that I understand him, when I get like emotional just reading like things like this. What the fuck? Okay. He did not, however, mean thereby that his former disorders were troubling him, but that he was suffering from a severe attack of influenza, which he had caught in Santa Margherita, and which tormented him for several weeks after his arrival in Genoa. As a matter of fact, however, what he complained of most was his spiritual condition, that indescribable forsakenness to which he gives such heart-rending expression in Zarathustra. Even the reception which the first part met with at the hands of friends and acquaintances was extremely disheartening. Yeah, so I remember from Will Durant's writing that when he wrote this book, nobody appreciated it, basically. Why am I crying? Almost like Jordan Peterson just doing Terry or something. For almost all those to whom he presented copies of the work misunderstood it. I found no one ripe, and yet not to be heard. No one ripe for many of my thoughts. The case of Zarathustra proves that one can speak with utmost clearness, and yet not be heard by anyone. My brother was very much discouraged by the feebleness of the response he was given, and he was striving just then to give up the practice of taking hydrate of chloral. I don't know what that means. Chloral? Hydrate of chloral? A drug that he had begun to take while ill with influenza. Okay. The following spring, spent in Rome, was a somewhat gloomy one to him. He writes about it as follows. I spent a melancholy spring in Rome, where I only just managed to live. And this was no easy matter. This city, which is absolutely unsuited to the poet-author of Zarathustra, and for the choice of which I was not responsible made me incoordinately miserable. Let's look at coordinate. What is that word? Incoordinate. Inordinately. I can't read. Inordinate. Ordinately means what? Inordinate. Not within proper or reasonable limits, immodest, excessive. Oh, okay. Excessive, basically. $14. Yes, thank you. Inordinately miserable. Excessively miserable. I tried to leave it. I wanted to go to Aquila, the opposite of Rome, in every respect, and actually found it in a spirit of enmity. I've heard that before. I don't know what it means. Enmity. I have to look it up. Enmity. Feeling condition of hostility, hatred, animosity, antagonism. Okay. There's so many words in English now. I think it's a good thing to read a book like this and to look at every word, because these words will appear again and again. And if next time I come across it, I can just look here. And after a certain amount of time, I will actually know it. Hopefully, I'm not grown too old for that yet. If I can still learn things, hopefully I can. Spirit of enmity towards that city. Just as I also shall found a city someday. As a memento of an atheist and a genuine enemy of the church, a person very closely related to me, the great Hohenstaufen Emperor Frederick II, but fate lay behind it all. I had to return again to Rome. In the end, I was obliged to be satisfied with a Piazza Barberini, after I had exerted myself in vain to find an anti-Christian quarter. I fear that on one occasion, to avoid bad smells as much as possible, I actually inquired at the Palazzo del Quirana whether they could not provide a quiet room for a philosopher. In a chamber high above the piazza just mentioned, from which one obtained a general view of Rome and could hear the fountains plashing far below, the loneliest of all songs was composed, the Night Song. About this time I was obsessed by an unspeakably sad melody, the refrain of which I recognized in the words, "Dead through immortality." The Night Song, I believe actually the Night Song is a chapter. The Night Song, XXX. Okay, I know I won't read it, but it's a chapter actually. So we write some of that now. We remained somewhat too long in Rome that spring, and what with the effect of the increasing heat and the discouraging circumstances already described, my brother resolved not to write any more, or in any case not to proceed with Zarathustra, although I offered to relieve him of all trouble in connection with the proofs and the publisher. When, however, we returned to Switzerland towards the end of June, and he found himself once more in the familiar and exhilarating air of the mountains. I mean, this just means like rejuvenating or something. It just means like high. It's like provides high spirit, I think. I won't look it up. All his joyous creative powers revived. In a note to me announcing the dispatch of some manuscript, he wrote as follows: I have engaged a place here for 3 months. Forsooth, I don't know what that means. Forsooth. Forsooth. Oh, I can't type. No use in this version. In truth, in fact, in being. Oh, okay. So it used so when you read it, no, it means in truth, in fact, but no, it has a different meaning because words change meaning over time. Obviously. In truth, in fact, indeed. Indeed, I am the greatest fool to allow my courage to be sapped from me by the climate of Italy. Now and again I am troubled by the thought, what next? My future is the darkest thing in the world to me, but as there still remains a great deal for me to do. I suppose I ought rather to think of doing this than my future, and leave the rest to thee and the gods. The second part of Zarathustra was written between the 26th of June and the 6th of July. So he writes his book in several periods. What was the first book written actually? Winter 82. So he had like some spurs of inspiration, which he just wrote these very great books, very great parts of the book. Anyway, this summer, finding myself once more in the secret place where the first thought of Zarathustra flashed across my mind, I conceived the second part. 10 days sufficed. Neither for the second, the first, nor the third part have I required a day longer. He writes all the parts. The book is divided into 4 parts, and he writes them all in 10 days, basically, and that is maybe worth keeping in mind when you read it, because you might think that it would take many months to come up with it, but it was in 10 days. He often used to speak of the ecstatic mood in which he wrote Zarathustra. How in his walks over hill and dale the ideas would crowd into his mind, and how he would note them down hastily in a notebook from which he would transcribe them on his return, sometimes working till midnight. He says in a letter to me, "You can have no idea of the vehemence of such composition," and in Ecce Homo, autumn 1888, he describes as follows with passionate enthusiasm the incomparable mood in which he created Zarathustra. Has anyone at the end of the 19th century any distinct notion of what poets of a stronger age understood by the word inspiration? If not, I will describe it. If one had had the smallest vestige, I don't know what that means. Vestige, meaning. A trace or remnant or something that is despair no longer exists. Okay. It's like an old sign or something. Okay. If not, I will describe it. If one had the smallest vestige, meaning sign of superstition in one, it would hardly be possible to set aside completely the idea that one is a mere incarnation, mouthpiece or medium of an almighty power. The idea of revelation, in the sense that something becomes suddenly visible and audible with indescribable certainty and accuracy, which profoundly convulses and upsets one, describes simply the matter of fact one hears. One does not seek, one takes, one does not ask who gives. A thought suddenly flashes up like lightning. It comes with necessity, unhesitatingly. I have never had any choice in the matter. You don't. Yeah, I actually wrote this in my blog post. Well, not like this, but you don't choose what you believe. Thoughts appear in your head based on you being a human and based on you having the experience, the life experience that you have, and your genetics and everything like that. That is why you think the way you think. I thought so. The flash of lightning comes with necessity and hastily. I never had a choice matter. There is an ecstasy such that the immense strain of it is sometimes relaxed by a flood of tears, along with which one steps either rush or involuntarily lag, alternately. There is the feeling that one is completely out of hand, with a very distinct consciousness of an endless number of fine frills and quiverings to the very toes. There is a depth and happiness in which the painfullest and gloomiest do not operate as an antithesis, but as conditioned, as demanded in the sense of necessary shades of color in such an overflow of light. There is an instinct for rhythmic relations which embraces wide areas of forms. Length, the need of a wide embracing rhythm, is almost the measure of the force of inspiration, a sort of counterpart to its pressure and tension. Everything happens quite involuntarily, as if in a tempestuous outburst of freedom, of absoluteness, of power and divinity. I think tempestuous just means like tempo. I don't know, actually. The involuntariness of the figures and similes is the most remarkable thing. One loses all perception on what constitutes the figure and what constitutes the simile. Everything seems to present itself as the readiest, the correctest, and the simplest means of expression. It actually seems, to use one of Zarathustra's own phrases, as if all things came unto one and would fain be similes. Simile is basically like an analogy, I think. Simile, a figure of speech involving the comparison of one thing with another thing of a different kind, used to make a description more emphatic or vivid. His audacious deployment of simile and metaphor. It's just a figure of speech to make emphasis, right? Where was I? On every simile dost thou here ride to every truth. Here fly upon and unto thee all beings, words and word cabinets. Here all being wanted to become words. Here all becoming wanted to learn of thee how to talk. This is my experience of inspiration. I do not doubt that one would have to go back thousands of years in order to find someone who could say to me, "It is mine also." In the autumn of '83, my brother left Engadine for Germany and stayed there a few weeks. In the following winter, after wandering somewhat erratically through Stresa, Genoa, and Spezia, he landed in Nice, where the climate so happily promoted his creative powers that he wrote the third part of Zarathustra. In the winter, beneath the halcyon sky of Nice, which then looked down upon me for the first time in my life, I found the third Zarathustra, and came to the end of my task, the whole having occupied me scarcely a year. Many hidden corners and heights of the landscape. My toes just keep like bending involuntarily. It's very annoying. Basically, I have my legs on my chair, on my table, because it's comfortable. My table's a little bit too high, actually. Yeah, actually, I actually rented this apartment from December or late November, so it's a fairly new apartment to me. If you watch my YouTube, you will realize that I couldn't almost speak in my apartment because I was so nervous in myself, or like being heard by others. But here, the problem is not that big. There are people above me. I should actually go to bed fairly soon because they are sleeping above me. But I will read to 10, I think. I have to finish the introduction. Yeah, I'm almost finished. Okay. In the winter, beneath the halcyon sky of Nice, which then looked down upon me for the first time in my life, I found the third Zarathustra and came to the end of my task. The whole having occupied me scarcely a year. Many hidden corners and heights of the landscapes around Nietzsche are hallowed to me by unforgettable moments. That decisive chapter, entitled Old and New Tables, was composed in the very difficult ascent from the station of Esa, that wonderful Moorish village in the rocks. My most creative moments were always accompanied by unusual muscular activity. The body is inspired. Let us waive the question of the soul. I might often waive, so waive means to give, cease or give up. I don't know what. A sort of, when people say soul, I sort of know what it means. But I can't really like differentiate soul from like consciousness or. And when Nietzsche, what does Nietzsche mean by soul? I don't know. But what does wave? I think wave means to cease. Yeah, to refrain from claiming, inspire to give up, forego. Yeah. This body is inspired. Let us waive the question of soul. So Nietzsche is very sort of body focused. You know, we are not only our brains in like a capsule. Like it's all our body that informs us. Our instincts are very important. Our bodily instincts. Yeah, something like that, basically. Which I believe it's so. That well, Nietzsche, I believe Nietzsche believes so. That yeah, I don't think Nietzsche believes in soul in the same degree that Christianity promotes soul. But Nietzsche says that we should believe in the body, I think. But we will get to it. I might often have been seen dancing in those days. Nietzsche dancing. Without a suggestion of fatigue, I could then walk for 7 or 8 hours on end among the hills. I slept well and laughed well. I was perfectly robust and patient. I mean, I just like Nietzsche. So just to hear he had a good time, it's almost like, yeah, good for him, And when he had a bad time, yeah, that sucks. But it's almost like, whatever experiences he has had, they are profound because he created really profound and um, um, important books and thoughts. So he's a very profound figure. As we have seen, each of the 3 parts of Zarathustra was written after a more or less short period of preparation in about 10 days. The composition of the 4th part alone was broken by occasional interruptions. The first notes relating to this part were written while he and I were staying together in Zurich in September 1884. In the following November, while staying at Mentone, he began to elaborate these notes, and after a long pause finished the manuscript at Nice between the end of January and the middle of February 1885. My brother then called this part the 4th and last. Even before and shortly after it had been privately printed, he wrote to me saying that he still intended writing a 5th and 6th part, and notes relating to these parts are now in my possession. He wanted to write more. This 4th part, the original MS, of which contains this note only for my friends, not the public, is written in a particularly personal spirit, and those few to whom he presented a copy of it pledged to the strictest secrecy concerning its contents. He often thought on making this 4th part public also, but doubted whether he would ever be able to do so without considerably altering certain portions of it. At all events, he resolved to distribute this manuscript production, of which only 40 copies were printed, only among those who had proved themselves worthy of it, and it speaks eloquently of his utter loneliness and need of sympathy in those days, that he had occasion to present only 7 copies of his book according to this resolution. Already at the beginning of this history, I hinted at the reasons which led my brother to select a Persian as the incarnation of his idea of the majestic philosopher. His reasons, however, for choosing Zarathustra of all others to be his mouthpiece gives us in the following words. People have never asked me, as they should have done, what the name Zarathustra precisely means in my mouth. In the mouth of the first immoralist, for what distinguishes that philosophers from all others is in the past is the very fact that he was exactly the reverse of an immoralist. Zarathustra was the first to see in the struggle between good and evil the essential wheel in the working of things. The translation of morality into metaphysical as force, cause, and it in itself was his work. But the very question suggests its own answer. Zarathustra created the most portentous error, morality. Consequently, he should also be the first to perceive that error, not only because he has had longer and greater experience on the subject than any other thinker. All history is the experimental refutation of the theory of the so-called moral order of things. The more important point is that Zarathustra was more truthful than any other thinker. In this teaching alone do we meet with truthfulness upheld as the highest virtue, i.e., the reverse of cowardice of the idealist who flees from reality. Zarathustra had more courage in his body than any other thinker before and or after him, to tell the truth and to aim straight, that is, the first Persian virtue. Am I understood? The overcoming of morality through itself, through truthfulness, the overcoming of the moralist through his opposite, through me, that is what the name Zarathustra means in my mouth. So you can see Zarathustra was crushed in his body, not his mind, his body, than any other thinker before him. In Beyond Good and Evil, I remember one of the points that Nietzsche makes is that it's basically that everyone, even the philosophers, I mean, they aren't objective, you know. They think they like are truth seekers, but what is like mirrored back to them is their own sort of inmost desire or ideal, you know. Okay, actually, I forgot what I wanted to say about that. Elisabeth Furcher Nietzsche, Nietzsche's Archives, Weimar, December 1905. That was the introduction. And now, I suppose, should I read this right now, actually? I should get to bed soon. Yeah, let's get into it. Zarathustra's prologue. So here we get into Nietzsche's Zarathustra. When Zarathustra was 30 years old, he left his home and the lake of his home and went into the mountains. There he enjoyed his spirit and solitude, and for 10 years did not weary of it. But at last his heart changed, and rising one morning with the rosy dawn, he went before the sun and spake thus unto it: Thou great star, what would thy happiness be if thou hadst not for those whom thou shinest? This is a very, very famous quote, actually. I mean, this is the translation of Thomas Common, but you know,
in the uncorrupted.
I mean, when Willy Rant in his writings, he uses another translation, and I don't know which translation he uses, but I like the Willy Rant much better. I mean, everything, because when I first read the book, actually I heard the video before I read the book, and I recognized every quote, but every quote was I thought there were words in the book in this translation, and they were much more like understood them much more clearly in this video. So I really wish I could find the translation which he uses, but I looked for it and I didn't find it. And also, you know, as Jordan Peterson teaches us, the point of the Bible is that there's hidden symbolism everywhere. Like everything has a meaning. There's like a story, and there's like, yeah, how can I describe it? Like, it matters on many levels, because you know every quote matters in itself, but also the way it is structured, and you know the way every writer in the Bible writes. You know, well, you have the first. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Bible actually, but you know, this is sort of an ideal, you know. So when he was 30 years old, you know, he wasn't 25, he wasn't 20. So you know, there's a certain amount of wisdom you will have when, for example, when you're 30. And he goes into solitude and spent 10 years in solitude after his 30, so he's actually 40, right, when he comes back. And this is like what Nietzsche thinks you're supposed to do. You're supposed to seek out solitude, but then you're supposed to come back again. And this quote, you know, what is the point of of everything if it's not for what it inspires or like brings to life, you know. What is the point of a sun if it doesn't if you yeah if it doesn't have for those its shyness, if there's no creatures on earth, then there's just a sun, you know. It's meaningless basically. So, you know, when you read this, everything it is symbolism and it is ideals. It's everything that is. For 10 years hast thou climbed, and you know it is written in this sort of rosy, someone would say, language. So I'm actually really bad at pronouncing this, I think. If you read like the this audiobook, then he makes a very good I think he pronounces it very good, and he reads very good, I think, if you want like a proper reading of it. Yeah. For 10 years hast thou climbed hither into my cave. Thou wouldst have wearied of thy light and of thy journey, had it not been for me, my eagle and my serpent. But we awaited thee every morning, took from thee thine overflow, and blessed thee for it. Lo, I am weary of my wisdom, like the bee that hath gathered too much honey. I need hands outstretched to take it. I would fain bestow and distribute, until the wise have once more become joyous in their folly, and the poor happy in their riches. The sun give to the earth, and the creature on the earth give to, they bestow, you know, they provide for each other. And at some points there's like, you know, there's like an overflow. I am weary of my wisdom, like the bee that can too much honey, and it hands outstretched to take it. You acquire wisdom, but there need to be people for your wisdom to have so you can bring it further, for it to have a purpose. I would fain, fain means happily or gladly. There's many archaic words here, which, if you read it, you should look them up, basically. I would fain bestow and distribute, until the wise have once more become joyous in their folly, and the poor happy in their riches. Therefore I must descend into the deep, as thou dost in the evening, when thou goest behind the sea, and givest light also to the nether world, thou exuberant star. Like thee I must go down, as men say, to whom I shall descend. Bless me then, thou tranquil eye, that canst behold even the greatest happiness without envy. Bless the cup that is about to overflow, that the water may overflow may flow golden out of it, and carry everywhere the reflection of thy bliss. Lo, this cup is again going to empty itself, and Zarathustra is again going to be a man. Thus began Zarathustra's dawn going. Yeah, so he goes to solitude for 10 years, he comes down from the mountain, and he acquires wisdom, he swears wisdom, and he wants to bestow and distribute. And now he must go down into the deep, like the sun in the evening. Like thee I must go down. This is a very big concept you'll see in the beginning. Down going. It's a very sort of profound point that you can say almost is of biblical proportions, because the significance of this is that we as people, we also should strive to be down-goers in some sense. Zarathustra went down the mountain alone, no one meeting him. When he entered the forest, however, there suddenly stood before him an old man who had left his homely cot to seek roots. And thus spake the old man to Zarathustra. No stranger to me is this wanderer. Many years ago passed he by. Zarathustra he was called, but he hath altered. Then thou carriedst thine ashes into the mountains. Wilt thou now carry thy fire into the valleys? Fearest thou not incendiaries do? I mean, I don't really understand why there's like fire in ashes. I can't really like explain that to you. But there is, if you're smart, you will sort of get the sense, the meaning from it, I think. Because with Nietzsche, there is nothing he says is accidental, right? You know, if you write a book by sort of average or not so smart person, a lot of it will just be filler, right? Some things might be profound, and some points will be profound. A lot of it will just be sort of very sort of empty-headed, just fillers, just very straightforward concepts, which are just not worth anything in particular. But with Nietzsche, nothing is accidental. All this has significance, and I can't explain it to you, but I know it does basically. Let's see. Okay. I recognize Zarathustra. Pure is his eye, and no loathing lurketh about his mouth. Goeth he not along like a dancer? Altered is Zarathustra. A child hath Zarathustra become. An awakened one is Zarathustra. What wilt thou do in the land of the sleepers? As in the sea hast thou lived in solitude, and it hath borne thee up. Alas, wilt thou now go ashore? Alas, wilt thou again drag thy body, thyself? So, you know, the land of the sleepers, meaning like the culture is dead, kind of. Alas, wilt thou again drag thy body thyself? It is some ways, in some ways it is to be in solitude. But when he goes ashore, he must drag thy body himself. You know, that is the meaning here. Zarathustra answered, I love mankind. Why, said the saint, did I go into the forest and the desert? Was it not because I loved men far too well? No, I love God. Men I do not love. Man is a thing too imperfect for me. Love to man would be fatal to me. Zarathustra. What spake I of love? I am bringing gifts unto men. Give them nothing, said the saint. Take rather part of the load, and carry it along with them. That will be most agreeable unto them, if only it be agreeable unto thee. If, however, thou wilt give unto them, give them no more than an alms, and let them also beg for it. No, replied Zarathustra, I give no alms. I am not poor enough for that. Alms means like small gifts, I think. And this is when it says, I'm not poor enough to give something. What does that mean? And this is all very sort of in spirit, you know. Have you noticed that it is often poor people are actually more generous than rich people? Oh, I don't think I can make this point. It's something to do with spirit, that, you know, poor people tend to give. And he says, I give no alms, I'm not poor enough for that. Normally we say, I'm not rich enough for that, but he said, I'm not poor enough for that, you know. I can't explain, actually. The saint laughed at Zarathustra and spake thus, then see to it that they accept thy treasures. They are distrustful of anchorites, meaning like a lonely person, or a person living in like a secluded, living secluded, and do not believe that we come with gifts. So, So he says that he loved mankind. But in a sense, what spake our love? I mean, he gives unto them. So does he love mankind or does he not love? He says he loves mankind. So, the scientist it doesn't trust that it's a good idea because the people don't really trust in these sort of lonely people from the woods, the sort of wise old anchorites or whatever, wise men from the woods. The fall of our footsteps ringeth too hollow through their streets, and just as at night, when they are in bed and hear a man abroad long before sunrise, so they ask themselves concerning us, where goeth the thief? Go not to the man, but stay in the forest. Go rather to the animals. Why not be like me, a bear amongst bears, a bird amongst birds? And what doth the saint in the forest? Asked Zarathustra. So this saint has basically just giving up sort of improving humanity, because humanity doesn't readily accept his help. He realized that they won't readily accept his help. That's why he warns Zarathustra it will be very difficult to give anything to these people, because they are distrustful, they don't trust you. So he says, go to rather to animals, why not be like a bear amongst birds, and bird amongst birds? The saint answered, I make hymns and sing them. In making hymns I laugh and weep and mumble. Thus do I praise God. With singing, weeping, laughing and mumbling do I praise the God who is my God. But what dost thou bring us as gift? When Zarathustra had heard these words, he bowed to the saint and said, what should I have to give thee? Let me rather hurry hence, lest I take aught away from thee. And thus they parted from one another, the old man and Zarathustra, laughing like schoolboys. I never understood why laughing like schoolboys. Well, they were obviously very What does that mean? Why are they laughing like schoolboys? There's nothing that indicate that they would be. What does that mean? I don't know. When Zarathustra was alone, however, he said this to his heart. Could it be possible? This old saint in the woods, in the forest, had not yet heard of it that God is dead. Okay, so I forgot to put quotes. Okay, we should put this quote. This quote is a good quote to put. Quotes. That is important. And yeah, he says God is dead, and that is so huge. I'm going to say that. I think that is why I'm having some reaction, because that is such a huge point, basically. He writes in 1880s. He recognizes that the faith in Christianity, it is fading. People don't believe in Christianity. It is not the same. It is not implicit belief. The scientific method and everything has come a long way. So basically, God is dead now. People don't really believe in God. And Nietzsche, that is a very profound deal with Nietzsche. So what will come after Christianity? What will come after God, That is extremely... That is such a huge thing, basically. I mean, here in Norway there are very few people call themselves Christians. there are many people who are attached to a Christianity on a very weak level, and there are some people who like. I think it would almost like they are bad faith when they believe in when they say they're Christians, because I mean, like, why would you? It like the reasons are not because you believe. The reasons are because you want something else. You want either association with something, you want affiliation, you just want something. But you don't implicitly believe in God, because unconsciously in our culture, everyone, in some sense, everyone are on the same wavelength, I believe. So when people say that they believe in God, at least here in Norway, if they've been brought up in Norway and lived in Norway, I think it's bad faith, actually. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't be a Christian. I couldn't believe in God, because I'm not like a very atheistic person. I actually like Jordan Peterson very much on this, because he explains the significance of it. And we are in an age where like explanations and reasoning and all this is very big. So the significance of things is what matters. Well, you know, but to believe is to, if you're going to believe, you have to implicitly believe, and I don't think anyone implicitly believes anymore. I don't know. If anyone watching this are actually a Christian, I mean, I'm not like against you or anything, but yeah, okay, let's move on though. But that is a very important idea with Nietzsche, that God is dying, and that's also why we have to transvalue our values, because the values that we hold are sort of remnants from a Christian culture. I think there's an interview with a person, and he said that he used the phrase secularized Christianity. Our culture right now is secularized Christianity. So we are sort of Christians, even though we don't believe in Christianity, but sort of, yeah, I can't really talk too much of it on it right now. Okay, let's go on now. When Zarathustra arrived at the nearest town which adjoined the forest, he found many people assembled in the marketplace, for it had been announced that a rope dancer would give a performance, and Zarathustra spake thus unto the people: I teach you the Superman. Man is something that is to be surpassed. What have you done to surpass man? So this is also extremely important. This is what Nietzsche wants us to believe in. All things hitherto have created something beyond themselves, and ye want to be the ebb of that great tide, and would rather go back to the beast than to surpass man. What is the ape to man? A laughingstock, a thing of shame. And just the same shall man be to the Superman, a laughingstock, a thing of shame. Ye have made your way from worm to man, and much within you is still worm. Once were ye apes, and even yet man is more of an ape than any of the apes. Even the wisest among you is only a disharmony and hybrid of plant and phantom. But do I bid you become phantoms or plants? Lo, I teach you the Superman. The Superman is the meaning of the earth. Let your will say, the Superman shall be the meaning of the earth. I conjure you, my brethren, remain true to the earth, and believe not those who speak unto you of super-earthly hopes. Poisoners are they, whether they know it or not. Despisers of life are they, decaying ones and poisoned ones themselves, on whom the earth is weary. So away with them. I mean, this right here is so powerful. it's very hard to quote Nietzsche because you can quote everything. So it's kind of stupid to have like a quote list. I think I will quote something more now from this section. Yeah, let's quote these 3 passages. This is the new ideal. This is the new thing. The Superman. He says, believe though not those super earthly hopes, basically anything religious in some context. Poisoners are they, whether you know it or not. Despisers of life are they, decaying ones and poison ones themselves, of whom the earth is weary, so away with them. Once blasphemy against God was the greatest blasphemy, but God died, and therewith also those blasphemers. To blaspheme the earth is now the dreadfulest sin, and to rate the heart of the unknowable higher than the meaning of the earth. You basically just say, believe in the earth, believe in nothing else but the earth, believe in humans, believe in the greatest expression of human, the greatest form of human, coming from the earth, all the resources on the earth. Don't use your brain to imagine things up there. Just believe in the earth and all the things that come from the earth, including man and what man can be. That is what this means, That this is the new ideal. Once the soul looked contemptuously on the body, and then that contempt was the supreme thing. The soul wished the body meager, ghastly, and famished. Thus it thought to escape from the body and the earth. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of sort of inwards focus with Christianity, sort of, yeah, Christianity say, turn the other cheeks. When someone hits you, turn the other cheeks. For example, that's a virtue, in Christianity. And Christianity is also very, it's very hard to sort of categorize Christianity as being only one thing, because it's very vast. I do respect Christianity, of course, but I realize it's not like a simple idea. And it has many elements, of course, and it's very huge and everything. But I think what Nietzsche gets at is that with Christianity comes this sort of inward focus, to sort of what would you say, sort of to sort of chastise the human instincts, that there is too much, for example, violence. There's too much things that are bad with humans implicitly. He said the soul looked contemptuously on the body, and the body, that's the instincts basically. From the body we get instincts, and that the contempt was the supreme thing. The soul wished the body meager, ghastly, and famished. Yeah, because a body that is meager, ghastly, and famished is not like a violent, or according to the Christian virtue, is not like a bad thing. There are bad instincts in the body, which sort of Christianity wishes to do away with, I think. I'm making very many sort of claims which are kind of bold, I think. If someone watching this and want to critique me, go ahead. You're very welcome to critique me, but like at least try to apply good faith, because I do a lot of commenting on like Facebook and stuff, and it's all bad fate basically. It's all bad fate all around. Everyone I try, myself included, it's very rarely that I don't just write something polemical to get at someone who I don't like, who I think is stupid or something. And yeah, so you're very welcome to critique me, critique my understanding of anything I say, and I mean, I will admit 100% that I am, stupid. I don't understand the half of it. I'm just gleaming, and well, I think I sort of understand the gist of it. That is what I was saying, but you can critique me, yeah, and if you're in good faith, it is much easier for me to take it seriously. Otherwise, I will just dismiss it basically. Because if I hurt you, if I say something and it hurts you, then you will obviously be offended, and your reply will just be bullshit, Yeah. I suck at explaining things. That is the thing with me. I want to explain it, but so much better, but I can't. Okay. Yeah, so that soul was itself meager, ghastly, and famished, and cruelty was the delight of that soul. I might just be misunderstanding a lot here, actually. Let me know if I am. They also, my brethren, tell me, what doth your body say about your soul? Is your soul not poverty and pollution and wretched self-complacency? Self-complacency is like a big thing. Self-complacency. Complacent satisfaction for self or one's position or achievements. For some reason, I just don't think that this definition fits completely. Okay, I'll just... Okay, I need to finish soon. My head is sort of spinning around almost. I should finish the first part actually, but the thing is that like the greatest, I think the first parts. Well, there are many great parts I've read before, but I mean, once I get deep into the book, I mean, I don't really understand almost anything what's going on. So I think the first part is one of the most significant and meaningful parts. So I sort of want to spend some time with it. Yeah, okay. So, is your soul not poverty and pollution and wretched self-complacency? Verily, a polluted stream is man. One must be a sea to receive a polluted stream without becoming impure. I like this quote on its own. It basically, well, all the quotes you can say they stand on their own, but I remember also almost using this quote one time. Pure individuals are rare. and when a child grows up, and eventually it will come into contact with people who would say they carry something with them which sort of sinister or not good or whatever. They are polluted stream. Everyone basically have something that is polluted in him, you could say. But here is the thing, if you have to be of great tolerance to receive, to come in contact with someone else who and remain pure. You have to be rich or big to if you want to sort of take someone else in without you know what it means, it's the quote stands down. I don't have to explain to you. You understand what it means. It's a very good quote. Lo, I teach you the Superman, he is that sea. In him can your great contempt be submerged. I love that quote, actually. Yeah, these quotes hang together. So what this means is that the Superman, the ideal man, is a man of great tolerance. He has to be able to speak to anyone who has whatever wacky, crazy idea, and he has to be with whatever crazy psychological state or whatever. And the Superman has to sort of remain neutral and to sort of believe in himself, and he has to be big enough for that. He has to be rich enough. He has to be like a sea, so he can tolerate that and still remain as he's supposed to remain. Yeah. What is the greatest thing you can experience? It is the hour of great contempt, the hour in which even your happiness becometh loathsome unto you, and so also your reason and virtue. The hour when you say, what good is my happiness? It is poverty and pollution and British self-complacency, but when happiness should justify existence itself. The hour when you say, what good is my reason? Doth it long for knowledge as the lion for his food? It is poverty and pollution and riches called self-complacency. The hour when you say, what good is my virtue? As yet it hath not made me passionate. How weary I am of my good and my bad. It is all poverty and pollution and wretched self-complacency. The hour when you say, what good is my justice? I do not see that I am fervor and fuel. The just, however, are fervor and fuel. The hour when you say, what good is my pity? It is not pity the cross in which he is nailed who loveth man, but my pity is not a crucifixion. Have you ever spoken thus? Have you ever cried thus? Ah, would that I heard you crying thus. So all this. When you say, what is the greatest thing you can experience? And then when we speak of the greatest thing you can experience, more than time someone say, oh, to have sex with a really hot woman or something, to win $1 million, or to be surrounded by your best friends, or to give birth, to have a baby, or I don't know, something like this. But Nietzsche is spiritual, and he says, what is the greatest thing you can experience? It is the hour of great contempt. I don't know. What does that mean? The hour in which even your happiness becometh loathsome unto you. And so also your reason and virtue. Okay, so it doesn't mean greatest as in like goodest. It means greatest in like insignificance, right? But I never understood what these things means. What good is my happiness? It's probably pollution and riches, self-complacency. Yeah, so happiness is not meaning in our life. What good it's poverty and pollution and riches, self-complacency, basically. You're just wallowing in happiness. What is happiness? There's nothing profound. There's nothing great about happiness. Or when you say, what good is my reason? Doth it long for knowledge as a lion for his food? It is poverty and pollution and riches self-complacency, actually. So, Nietzsche is also, in some senses, anti this very sort of academic approach to everything. That, like, yes, doth it long for knowledge as a lion for his food? No, right? We don't have a will to reason as we have like a will to food or to any other instinct. So reasoning itself is not like, it's just poverty and pollution and riches self-complacency. Therefore, when you say, what good is my virtue? As yet it hath not made me passionate. How weary I am of my good and my bad. It is all poverty and pollution and riches self-complacency. So again, people say they have virtues, but they aren't passionate about them. They don't really care. Basically, in today's world, I think we lack passion in today's society, basically, and we lack virtue. And you can't just say, "Oh, my virtue is to be nice." Yeah, it doesn't get you up in the morning, It doesn't get you going. It has to be something. It is hard to explain, but it has to be something deep, I think. And it has to make you passionate. How weary am I of good and my bad? Is so poverty and pollution versus self-complacency. Or when I say, what good is my justice? I don't see that I'm fervor and fuel. Fervor, I think that is driven or something. Fervor. 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 No, it means great intensity of feeling or belief. Ardor, zeal, okay. Yeah, I've heard of this before. Is it fervor? Yeah, it's the same. Great intensity. I'm not fervor and fuel. There's just, however, a fervor and fuel. They only say, what good is not pity? It is not pity the cross. It is not pity the cross on which he is nailed to who loved man. So, obvious reference to Jesus there. Yeah, so the Christian ideal, hangs on the cross, and we pity him. But Nietzsche hates pity, What good is pity? What good is it's not only significance of Jesus hanging on the cross, but it but it does hangs on the cross, and it maybe makes, and that's maybe a symbol which make people they make them pity more, and that is a very bad thing, according to Nietzsche. Is that not what it means? Okay. Have you ever spoken this? Have I cried as? Would I have crying this? So no. These things, we should take seriously. It is not your sin, it is your self-satisfaction that crieth unto heaven. Your very sparingness in sin crieth unto heaven. It is not the things we do bad which are our sin, but it is our, the things, we just play games or whatever, we just satisfy ourselves. That is our real sin. Where is the lightning to lick you with its tongue? Where is the frenzy with which ye should be inoculated? Inoculated? Inoculated, doesn't that mean inoculate? To implant, to affect, to introduce, to imbue. The Google gives you, I think they gave you a better, sort of very short definition. Yeah, it provides you with sort of armor, I guess. Sort of vaccine. That was means, okay. Where's lightning to lick you with his tongue? That's like a lightning. Should be like a call to action. Nature's way of saying, get on with things, you know? Isn't that what it means? Where's a frenzy with which you should be inoculated? Yeah. Well, inoculated. You should be vaccinated with frenzy. I don't know. Lo, I teach you the Superman. He is that lightning. He is that frenzy. I mean, why don't I know what it means? Where's lightning and licking with his tongue? Where's the frenzy with which he should be inoculated? So, introduced. Yeah, okay, you can say introduced. You should be introduced with that crow lightning. Licking with his tongue. The lightning licking with his tongue, that's an image. I don't know exactly how, I don't know how to interpret that. When Zarathustra had thus spoken, one of the people called out, We have not heard enough of the rope dancer. It is time for us now to see him. And all the people laughed at Zarathustra, but the rope dancer, who thought the words applied to him, began his performance. Okay, so I spent a lot of time on this. But basically, there was this rope dancer, right? They were assembled in the marketplace for it to be also a rope dancer with a great performance, and Zarathustra spoke, and and he speaks these words unto the people. And when he's done, we have not heard enough of the rope dancer. It's time for us to see him. But the rope dancer who thought that the words applied to him began his performance. That is interesting. I mean, the beginning of the book is so meaningful. It is, I think, it's the best part probably. I probably can't really give it justice. I mean, you should probably read it alone instead of. But I think I'm learning a little just by reading it here. Zarathustra, however, looked at the people and wondered. Then he spake thus: Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a rope over an abyss. Okay. That is a highly profound quote. That is exactly what the Superman is, actually. Again, there's more here. A dangerous crossing, a dangerous wayfaring, a dangerous looking back, a dangerous travelling and haltly. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. What is lovable in man is that he is an overgoing and a downgoing. Okay. I think I have to wrap it up here because I'm getting fatigued in my brain I'm like feeling a bit hungry. I've gone past almost 2 hours. And there's so much time on this, but it's great though. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. Actually, I'm gonna continue somewhere else, somewhere else, because you have to give. You can't just you have to do it somewhat properly. So yeah, what is to say, you know? Check out my blog. I write some things on my blog. If you want to learn about me, you should read this introduction. I actually spent a lot of time writing this, and I'm paraphrasing Jordan Peterson right into the gate here. And if you like Nietzsche, check out the actual book on Gutenberg. Check out the videos on YouTube, and check out the video rant. Very good. This video here. I don't know how many times I listened to it, but many times. And it's only because I listened to this that I started reading the book. I don't know how much time I will spend on this book. If I ever will complete it. But it's a really good book, I think. The values are so good, you know. There's something different, you know. Nietzsche is really something different. So if you like Nietzsche, you should definitely check these things out. And if you don't like Nietzsche, you probably wouldn't stay to this end, you know. So yeah, I have to get to bed soon. I have to get up in the morning tomorrow and drive a taxi. And yeah, hopefully I can do more tomorrow, because this was kind of nice actually. I know that a lot of things I say is kind of inaccurate, and I sort of stumble across in my speaking and everything. If you like watch someone on YouTube, that will all people just speak seamlessly, you know. They just streamlessly, just no interruptions. They just say what they mean, and sometimes they can say very profound things without with a trouble. But also it has to be the things that you learn by going. So if I read and stream and make videos like this every so often, I will probably get better, and within 6 months maybe I will be a good explainer of things, you know. That is sort of that's sort of a goal here, because I am 31, but you know, maybe I can affect some change eventually. But I really have to get my act together. I have to learn so much, and I have to be so much better in presentation and everything. And yeah, I think you learn by doing, and that's what I'm doing. You know, if you watch my YouTube, you would see that I'm extremely open about everything, and even here, just by reading, I'm open about not knowing this stuff. I'm just reading. I'm just doing as I go, basically. And I'm just showcasing my stupidity almost. Okay, so thank you for watching, if you watched till the end. And if you want to critique, if you want to comment, whatever, do it in good faith, you know. It would be cool to have some people listening in. Probably I'd want to be lurkers in the beginning, if at all, you know. I think if I post this on YouTube under the title "Reading Zarathustra Live" or something like that, there will eventually be some people hopefully there will be something people searching it and finding it, because I remember I'm interested in other people reading this, because it's just interesting to see how an individual how they understand the text, and because everyone will have a different interpretation, and everyone will have different issues. It's always good to listen to the best, who have spent years reading and writing and being a professor, for example, and then explaining to us. That is very, very good. But sometimes it's good to get people who are on a lower level doing the same thing, because then you can sort of see where is the entry level. So maybe I can be like a sort of an entry level to other morons who don't get it but still like it, and you can't really understand it fully, but still are drawn to it. And if I can do that, then I can do that. Then it is something. Okay, so I should probably just shut up now. I'm speaking for so long. I'm not used to speaking actually. My brain is fried. That's probably why I explain some things badly, to be fair. So yeah, I'll see you.